Mario, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure. And as you can see, I do not need an haircut.
Clearly, you do not.
I didn't know you had met Bishop before.
Yes, the last time I've met him, we were in Rome. Happens that we were in Rome together. Yes, and it was a pleasure and an honor for me to get to exchange a few words.
The pleasure and the honor was all mine, Mario.
Yeah, nice try. But, once upon a time, I used to have a long blonde ponytail that I will wear. And, I guess that I don't regret not having it right now because, no haircuts for me.
Well, if people get a copy of your book, they'll see you in your younger days.
Well, absolutely, you're right. But I'm still raggedly handsome, Archbishop. I'm still...
Hey, can you tell us a bit about your service as a member of the Swiss Guard?
Right. So, well, first of all, to become a Swiss Guard, you have to be Swiss. And the Switzerland is not Sweden, right? The Swedish fish candy, they are from Sweden, not from Switzerland. Okay? And I am a unique Swiss Guard because I was born and raised in Italy, okay? Because my mom is Italiana and my dad is Swiss. And I was born and raised in a little village called Sotto il Monte in Bergamo, near Bergamo, between Bergamo and Milano. And guess who is also from Sotto il Monte? Saint Pope John the 23rd. Huh. So imagine my joy when on April 27, 2014, Pope Francis canonized the man that I protected as a Swiss Guard for almost 40 years, Saint Pope John Paul II, and the man that I dated two of his nieces, Saint Pope John the 23rd.
That's an amazing story. And everybody loves a Swiss Guard. So it's great to have you on the show. And across the world, people are delighted now to celebrate the memory and the centenary of a beloved Pope, John Paul II, a saint. What was your motivation in writing your book?
Well, so since when I arrived in the United States, I had the privilege of giving talks, for men conferences, youth group, confirmation classes, and people will say, you should write a book and put your story so that if we cannot come to your talk, we can actually get to them later. And so I listened to my wife, who also's birthday is on May 18. So the men that I served and my wife share a birthday. And so I decided to celebrate his 100th birthday, publishing this simple book, which it's a book in which I relate stories and lessons that I learned from my personal encounters with him, so that I will generate, I will say, an awareness for people to either discover St. Pope John Paul II or rediscover St. Pope John Paul II, and then do some self-learning, like we are all doing right now through this pandemic, and maybe read some of these documents and watch some of his videos during audiences and so on and so forth.
Now, Mario, I was really fortunate that I actually met Pope John Paul II, the saint, a couple of times. But we all saw him. He was hugely popular. What was he like on a personal level?
He was, in the book, I define him as the man of simplicity. So every single time I had the privilege of interacting with him, sometimes maybe just for a few seconds, sometimes over a meal when we were in Castel Gandolfo, he laughed, he was funny, but at the same time, he was intense. In other words, any subject that we will discuss, you knew that he had something that I didn't have. And so I was always paying attention to what he was saying. I was looking at how he gestured his hands. I knew that what he had, I wanted it. Either his sense of humor, his simplicity, his faith. He was a great guy. And you know what? A secret that I always tell people, I have two saints that know my name, St. Pope John Paul II and Mother Teresa. And the common that I have in between the two of them is when they were talking to me, they were entirely focused on me. And I believe that that is uniqueness of a saint, how they can focus on one person at a time.
The book, I Served a Saint, has some great endorsements, including Archbishop Vigneron of Detroit, who's an advocate of Catholic TV. What's the reaction been so far?
Well, so far, everybody that already got the book, they are emailing me saying, thank you very much. You made me laugh. You gave me goosebumps. You know, I decided to put stories there, and then I sent the book out to some of my friends, Cardinal Sean O'Malley, Archbishop Vigneron, Archbishop Ebda, Cardinal Pietro Parolin. They all endorsed the book, and they said, thank you, Mario, for making in such a simple way an access to the life of a great saint. And yes, the book is full of stories, and I believe that the message at the end is the following. Let's all ask the Lord for the grace to be courageous, baptized men and women, because that's what St. Pope John Paul II told me, to not be afraid, because God is one day ahead of us.
Are there any treasured memories, Mario, that you have between you and Pope St. John Paul II?
Oh, yeah, I have many, many memories. I think briefly in 20 seconds, two. The first one is the first time I met him one-on-one. He was walking by on the Terza Loggia, Eccellenza, you know where that is, where the Secretary of State is. And when he walked by, they had alerted me, you have to close the door, block the elevator. I went up in my attention, and when he arrived, it stopped, and he looked at me and he said, you must be a new one. and when he said that, you know, I came out of my attention, I went with my hand because I wanted to shake his hand and introduce myself. And I did so for 7-8 seconds. I said my name. And while he was holding my hand, he grabbed my hand also with his left hand. So he sandwiched my hand and he said, well, Mario, thank you for choosing to serve who serves. Oh. And then he left. And so that day, I started thinking, he is a leader, he is a servant leader. And what is a secret of servant leadership? Well, this is the second story. St. Pope John Paul II once told to a group of priests and seminarians that to be priest, first and foremost, it means to be men for others. And when he said that, he said, you know how anybody can be a man for others? Be more. Do not do more, but be more. That really changed my heart, because what he said with these two words, be more, I believe he gave me a chance to rediscover the beauty and the power of my own charism, remembering that no gift given is meant for ourselves, but it is given for the good of the church and her mission.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mario, we appreciate you being with us. Where can people follow your work in education? You get a copy of the book, if you can hold the book up too, as you tell us.
Yes, so the book, you know, I was blessed that before the pandemic, the publisher, which is Newman House, was already, the book was out. So you can get it on Amazon, or if you want to know more, I even have a simple website that it's www.iservedasaint.com. And so you can get the book either there, you know, there are buttons through Amazon, through the publisher. You can see some other endorsement, and I will update the website where I'll be going to give talks to parishes presenting the books, or articles that they might be published. All of it so that we can enhance St. Pope John Paul II sanctity.
Well, Mario, what a pleasure having you on today. Thanks for taking time to join us, and you make sure you stay safe and well.
Thank you very much to both of you, and ciao, ciao, Eccellenza.
Ciao, Mario. Grazie.
Well, now I see what you mean.